Hey everybody, welcome back to another fantastic Friday with Dannphan. How's everybody doing? I'm double layered because it was quite cold this morning. Let's see, we got Brian in the chat. Love to draw, Jamie Rose. What's going on, everybody? I guess it makes sense to start off the Friday stream with a little update on how campaign has been going so far. Let's see. 85 backers, 63%. Hell yeah. Still got 24 days left on Reaper Book 1, of course. Very, very excited for this comic to be done. I got like roughly 2 more pages and I can post the next update on Subscribestar for those who have the early reader subscription, so you can get to reading early. Just be prepared because that next update is definitely going to end on a bit of a cliffhanger. All the more reason why I think a lot of people would rather just hold off and wait until the whole book is out so they can read it all in one sitting. I don't know how people usually prefer to do it, if they prefer to starting new series reading chapter by chapter, or if you'd rather, like a manga, have more than one chapter out, like more like a book by book, if the first volume is out, but that's all that's out so far. Some people I know really like binging, and a lot of people like to blame that on Netflix, that Netflix was like the place to go to for people who liked binging things. But if some people might be binge readers as well. Maybe one volume is not enough for them to get into a series. There needs to be multiple volumes out, multiple books to read and catch up on. Me personally, not the biggest binge reader fan. In fact, I actually kind of prefer to get on a series early, like when it just comes out and maybe there's only one book out yet. And because that way it's just easier to stay updated on something rather than to race to get updated on something. Like if I go to a new series, and it's like 200 chapters into the story. I got so much catching up to do, my god. I'd rather just get on early. But I don't know, some people like to have a little bit more substance before they get into a series. Let's see, I am a binger, and I was a binger before Netflix. Alrighty, fair. I prefer to read all at once, or at least in volumes, but I'll go either way. Okay, alrighty. Can't binge comics, I'll get double vision. Hey, it's a pretty comic book nerd. Never got into the culture of it, although I read a lot. Are cute girls common in the comic book culture? Not too sure, honestly. It's a toss-up. Sometimes you just get filthy casuals. But it is what it is. Okay, let's get this second sweatshirt off of me, because this is too many layers now. It depends on how long it is. If it's a shorter-lived series, I can get the whole thing. Yes. Usually get physical manga, so I guess I'm a binger. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I get intimidated by very long series. So I prefer to jump in early on so it doesn't seem like there's a lot of work to do. You just stay updated weekly, Especially when you have like those manga apps. Ugh, they're a godsend. They really are. But yeah. It's a pretty good Friday so far, I think. Got a couple people contributing to the Reaper series, of course. That's always fun stuff. I love collaboration. And one of the people contributing, you may remember from a Comic Talk Tuesday. Actually, I guess two of them you may remember from a Comic Talk Tuesday. Hey, Gabe the Jen is in chat. What's up? That's a lot more fans than a minute ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with the live streams, man. You gotta, like, let it play out a little bit until everybody's aware that the stream has started. It's another good reason why it's good to always start at the same time. But I was considering doing these Fridays with Dannphan later, because a lot more people are just kind of online later. A lot more people are more interested in tuning in later, but you know. If I want to get into comic books, where should I start? I'm a Stephen King and Dean Koontz fan of that. Well, if you're looking into, like, horror stuff, I'm sure that the chat will absolutely know a ton of horror manga to recommend. As far as indie comics, I know there's some stuff out there for sure. Oh, Mark Schaefer. Thanks for the 20. I put in my Reaper order. Don't know what comes in it, but can't wait. Well, I do specify the stuff. You click on it, it tells you. Yes. Click on it. I believe every single bundle has the sword bookmarks. So, if you're really mouth-watering over these sword bookmarks, good for you. Just any order will get it. And maybe you'll get the special golden bookmark. Special golden sword bookmark. You get a free sketch card. That's nice. Ah, man. An update from the last stream, because I know that some of you might be curious about this. No, Indiegogo is not showing Reaper on the comic section still. They have not fixed whatever problem they have. I have seen other comics that were previously hidden starting to be shown again, but maybe that's just because some of them are now in demand. Maybe you get a little bump up the chart once it goes in demand, but, you know. Suggestions for horror. Yeah, I was also thinking Junji Ito. There's also, I guess, Chainsaw Man is kind of the normie thing to say, right? It is quite horrific. Future Diary. I was a fan of Future Diary when the anime was coming out, for sure. Honestly, I don't read too much horror. Obviously I have read some, but I'm not the best person to ask when it comes to recommending horror. I'm trying to think, but yeah, even better is making that 100% goal. Of course. Lock and Key, literally written by King's son. There's also a series he oversaw of one-off comics called Hill House from DC Black Label, which is an anthology, each story capturing a different horror. Interesting. Attack on Titan has horror elements? Oh yeah, for sure. People will definitely, especially because of that first episode of Attack on Titan, it's really good at getting across spooky stuff. I don't know if I've reviewed really many horror stuff on the channel. I remember a while ago, I reviewed this one that it was a little bit interesting. It was called Real Account. But I never kept up with the series because they make a really weird decision, kind of like while I was midway through reading it. They switch who the main character is, which was very bizarre and kind of confusing, and I'm not really sure what the grand plan of that was, because I never continued reading that far in. But while we were in a manga shop, one of my friends was with me as well, and I picked up like, oh, look, real account. And immediately they're like, oh, it's terrible. Don't even. So I don't know if they read further than I did, but I just put it back on the shelf. I was like, okay, maybe that's not the best thing to invest my time in. I don't know. We said comics. Did we mean manga? Well, a lot of the stuff that I've read is manga. I mean, when I'm thinking of like horror comics, I probably have even worse recommendations. But, I mean, you know. Elfen Lied, you know? I remember being into the anime Elfen Lied when I was younger. Way too young to watch it. Probably. No, most definitely way too young to watch it. I looked into the manga later because there's a bunch of things, the majority of it is very different from the manga. And the manga is quite explicit, if you know what I mean. So I wasn't expecting that. It's very explicit. There's a lot of sex scenes. So didn't read the manga. I just looked at the wiki page to figure out what was different. Oh, yeah, you were too young too? Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's an interesting premise, and there was one episode in particular that I remember from it that I thought was a really good episode. But it is very edgy. It's a very edgy anime. And the manga somehow managed to be even more edgy than the anime, which was quite shocking. So I'm not really sure if I would recommend it. Maybe if you go into the anime with like the right mindset, knowing that you're going into something that is a little bit edgier, a little bit just expect a lot of sad things to happen for little reason. And then I think you'll be in the right mindset to watch Elfen Lied. There, like I said before, there is one episode that struck me as being very well done, but, you know. It's a weird one. It's a toss-up. Let's see. I think there are some Tales from the Crypt comics. Yes, from Alterna, right. I was interested in looking into Blood Realm. Obviously, you know. Can you guess why? Fantasy, horror? Yeah, of course I would be a little bit interested in Blood Realm. I just never got around to actually looking into the comic. But I want to. It's just kind of a matter of, like, remembering to go do that. Instead of always saying, oh, maybe one day I'll go start reading that. I will admit, I think the majority of stuff that's bookmarked on my tabs right now, on my computer tabs. Granted, you know, there's stuff bookmarked on my phone too, but a lot of the stuff bookmarked here is like comedy, romance type stuff. Of course, a lot of fantasy too. I started reading Berserk not too long ago because I have to, you know what I mean? If you're writing a dark fantasy, it's kind of like a requirement that you have to read Berserk. I haven't gotten too far into it, though. What chapter is this bookmarked on, actually? Some people were also saying that I should go, watch the anime first. The original anime first, and then go back to reading the manga instead of just reading the manga. I think I'm only like... I think I just finished volume 2? I don't know. I thought that this was bookmarked at a chapter, but it wasn't. So now I have to fucking scour through the pages to figure out where I actually was. But yeah, so that's one of the things that's bookmarked. There's a bunch of like other fantasy things that I wanted to go check out that I just haven't had the time to. Obviously there's Freerin. There's a Unwanted Undead Adventurer. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I do kinda like the manga. I've never read the light novels, and I haven't seen the anime yet, but the anime just came out. And I want to go see it. And I kind of expect it'll be based more on the light novels than it will be the manga. Similar to Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, right? The manga is like completely different from the light novel. It is very different in tone and how they show the characters and everything. Manga's like, it is technically like the same story, but it still feels like a completely different story just because of how it's executed. It's really bizarre. So I'm wondering if the Unwanted Undead Adventurer is kind of like that, where I read the manga, but I'm getting a very, very different interpretation of the source material. And if the anime is based on the source material and not the manga, then maybe I don't actually like it. Who knows? Who knows, you know? I'll have to actually watch it and figure that out. Berserk gets more fucked up the further you go in. Oh yeah, so I've been told. But, you know, yeah, Berserk is the goat. That is what I've always been told, is that it's the best. You can't write fantasy, especially not dark fantasy, unless you've read Berserk. The first volume I actually got in print. And, not much happens. Not much happens in the first volume. I don't know how they start off the anime, but you know, it's a little bit slow. Just a little bit. I'm not saying I'm bored, but could move a little bit faster, you know. Thanks for the 5, Matthew. Any qualms on the Green Lantern? Do you remember Hal for the planes he flew? Honestly, my first experience with Green Lantern that I can recall was the first movie. Well, the movie with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, that one. So I probably had not the best introduction into the character. I know, he was in Young Justice. Well, you didn't watch that cartoon? No, I didn't. I didn't watch that cartoon until way later in life. That was the first time I saw Green Lantern. I was like, who's this guy? He got a pretty ring. And, you know. That movie was not what I would say was good. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was, like, unwatchable. It was just, like, just painfully mediocre. Just, like, really boring. But, you know. Let's see. If you're looking for things that offer different interpretation than the source material, there are a number of live-action Netflix things. Yeah, I think I got that. No worries there. Maybe later tonight I'll pop on some Unwanted Undead Adventurer, and we'll see like how different it is, or if it is different. One of the things that struck me as like kind of weird, or maybe I would even say unique, about that manga series is that it feels like what I could only describe as a fake harem. Fake harem. Just to specify, it's fake. It's not real. It's harem bait. Because they introduce all these female characters, like, just randomly, and you might get the impression, oh, maybe she likes the main character, or sometimes maybe she likes the main character, but nothing happens with them. They get introduced and then they leave. they leave the story and you, like, almost never see them again. So, you know, when you pick up, like, a volume or a light novel of the Unwanted Undead Adventurer, they have all these bitches on the cover, right? All these girls, like, hey, look at me, right? But they're only, like, gonna pop in and pop out. They, like, don't stick around at all. So it's like, it's bait. Like I said, it's just total bait to get people to buy. That's what I think, anyway. Like I said, I've only read the manga. I don't know if the manga just hated all the other characters and cut them out. It's a good choice. There's only one girl character that actually, like, sticks around and adventures with the main character, and she is shown as being, like, the main love interest. She's the real love interest, right? Well, as all the other ones are just fake. They just pop in and out of the story just to be bait for people who want to read a harem. It's kind of funny. So I'm reading this and I'm, like, kind of laughing to myself, because every time a new girl, like, appears in the story, I'm not threatened by them at all. She's like, bye. To add some context, I don't like harems. I grew out of them very quickly once I was in a healthy relationship. But, you know. So, I do prefer, if you have romance in a story, for it to just be focused, rather than, ooh, who am I gonna pick? I'm not a fan of those. What about reverse harems? It's the same thing in my head. Same thing. It's just dumb. Just focus. Just focus. But I found the fake love interest choices to be funny because it's just bait for people who want the harem anime. I don't know if that's how it is in the light novels, but it seems like that based on, like, the little snippets that I have read of the light novels, it seems like that it actually is how it is. So it's very funny. Anyway. Let me see. Tenchi Muyo is unabashedly a harem anime. It doesn't even pretend not to be. Yeah. It pretty much defined the term harem anime. Right, not a fan. But there are a lot of those. And apparently it's a thing where, the publishers, or maybe it's the editors and the publishers, they try to convince a mangaka to insert tropes into their work because they believe it'll help it sell better. And to be fair, there are definitely manga out there where, like, the editor or the publisher had a good idea for how to change the story to make it better, and did actually lead to its ultimate success, right? There are examples of that definitely happening. But the whole idea of inserting tropes or inserting fetishes to help sell a book, it just does not really vibe with me. And I think it's what makes it feel like a lot of anime just feels the same. Just feels like it's all following the same general formula. And yeah, it's difficult for stuff to stand out when that's the case. But the ones that do stand out, they're fucking winners. Like Freerun, I absolutely love Freerun. The anime just wrapped up. So, bet you gotta go catch up on the manga now, huh, nerds? I'm all caught up. But don't worry, I won't spoil. We don't do that on the live streams. We do that in the videos. Gotta go. Okay, well, we'll see you next time. I find it comical in retrospect how CN wanted to make Tenchi Muo seem like an action cartoon when it was actually just a guy and his 6 girlfriends from space. There's a couple things like that, for sure. Oh my goodness. But, you know, to each their own, I suppose. I just want things to feel unique every now and then. But yeah, I'll have to check out that anime and then update you on how it was, right? Let me ask you guys something. I know this is going to be like a random question, but have any of you ever read Silverwing before? The story with the bat, if that helps you at all. If any of you have ever read Silverwing. I'll wait. Because recently, well, at least not too long ago, there was a graphic novel adaptation made of Silverwing. Fancy smancy, I know. And I do know of the artist who worked on it. And he was on the Comic Talk Tuesdays from like way when we started it for like the very first time. I'm trying to like pull up his website because it's not working. So I'll have to go to like his link tree and yeah, let's go to the links to everything. See if it works on here. Website? Okay, now it's working. So let me share that. Yes. Look at this killer art. Fucking nailed it, man. So yeah. I'd recommend checking it out, of course. Especially if you were a fan of the original story. No, but I had a silverfish at my old apartment. Yeah, close enough. Gotta dip for a bit later, homies. Alright, we'll see you next time, Love to Draw. So, this guy, I gotta say, he's like crazy with like how many different art styles he's done in the past. Now granted, I've done some different art styles too, but not to the variation that Chris does. Oh my god, you know? Like he goes from like the comic booky style to like some horror hatching to like beautiful paintings and then kinda like Western anime-ish. And then we got Silverwing. It's insane. The variety, my god. I told him that I'd give a shout out, of course. I feel like I didn't do a very good job doing a shout out via live stream so far, but I'll probably do another shout out in a video or something. He was going to help us you know, put together some of the art on Reaper because we're having the chapter separations, and I was reaching out to some artists saying, hey, do you want to do like some art for every, you know, split between the chapter, just to like showcase some artists that I know and love, and he was into it, so we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, apparently this is doing very well. And he fucking kills it on that art. I wonder who did the coloring. Did he do the coloring? That's extra impressive if he did both the... Yeah, it just says illustrated by, but I don't know if... Is it like actually illustrated and colored by? I think he did the coloring too. Dear God, that's a lot of work. It looks fucking sick though. It looks really good. Jeez. Good on this guy. My God. Speaking of graphic novels, anyone read the Animorphs one? There's an Animorph graphic novel? What? Really? No, I have not read this. to answer your question, it doesn't look that bad. Hey, this seems like something I would read if I was a wee lad or wee lass. My bad. That's funny. I didn't even know that existed. iZombie had that sudden style switch thing going on in it. iZombie? You don't mean like mid-book, do you? Because like, I'm not, unless it's a stylistic choice, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of when a book just randomly switches styles midway through the book, but I do think it's impressive when someone is able to switch up their style accordingly for what they're writing or what they're working on, especially when a comic artist can do that. Me personally, I've been like obsessing over trying to find my style for years now. It's difficult. It's really difficult finding a style that's like kind of unique to you, that people would want to read your stuff just for the style alone. And obviously I have played around with different styles in other comics that I've done, but I'm not the best at switching up my style, for sure. And it's the main reason, I guess, why I've kind of stuck around with a somewhat, I guess, would you call this like anime-esque? I know other people would call this anime-esque style. Kind of, I guess, Western anime-esque? Western anime-like? That's what I would usually call this type of style. But, I mean, it works. It works. It does. I do wonder if I could be doing better, of course. It's only natural to see, like, your artwork and wondering, I don't know if this is the best that I can do. And granted, with time, you will get better. But, yeah, that's the original art piece that I had done. I'll do more of these, for sure, if you're, like, upset that you didn't manage to snag my original art. I'll do more in the future. Yeah, finding a style is difficult. But I also know that there's some limitations to what I can do. And it's part of the reason why in the past I've hired other artists to work on comics with me. Because I know the limitations and, like, the amount of detail I can really put in is somewhat limited. I always lean towards trying to make something simpler. Maybe that's because I'm lazy. I don't know. I can't really, It's funny though, unless I do have like a really nailed down style for something that I'm constantly referencing, or I guess I have to like print it out. And that's like the classic thing for a comic artist or an animator. You print out the character design and then you actually have it physically on your desk while you're working. Because I will, if I'm not constantly looking back and forth at reference, I'll simplify the design as I'm drawing the comic, and you just notice it, that every now and then the design of a character just suddenly gets simpler and simpler as it goes. Just like all of a sudden, oh, he doesn't have as many belts on his hip. What's going on there? I thought he had 5 belts. Now he only has 1. You know, stuff, just to throw out a random example. It'll just start simplifying itself because I'm remembering the bare basics of the design that I created. But, you know, part of the reason of making something a little bit more complicated is to make something a little bit more interesting looking. So long as you're doing it, you know, doing it in a controlled way so that it's not super complicated and not interesting looking. But anyway, thanks for the 10, Mark. I like your style. Here's some more support. Keep being you, man. Thanks, man. Thank you. I am, like, really flattered when people are like, yeah, I like your art style. It's good. That means a lot. Considering that I struggle with, like, actually coming up with an art style. I do worry that mine is a little bit generic, but it is good to hear that people are like, people genuinely like it, you know? It's a little bit, you'll probably notice, it's a little bit different from Horizon Quest. Unfortunately, you know, the cover doesn't have a big titty bitch on it. That's my main regret. No big titty bitch on the cover. If I had a big titty bitch on the cover, I would sell so many copies. I didn't do that. That's my bad. That's on me. We'll get some bitches soon, I swear. Just hang in there for a little bit longer. Get some bitches in the comic. Yeah, I look back at Horizon Quest and I see all these different things that needed to be improved on, honestly. It's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Horizon Quest is the worst comic in the world or anything. It's not, of course. I would never say that about a comic I'm selling on my website. But there was obviously room for improvement. Let's see. If I were to, like, pinpoint certain things, the proportions are, like, kind of all over the place. Especially the body proportions. Like, sometimes everybody kind of looks about right, but, you know, there are panels that, like, look decent, and panels that look better than other things, and some that needed some work. The backgrounds, I think I struggled with probably the most, because I had previously been shying away from drawing backgrounds as much as possible, unless I had to do an establishing shot so that you knew where the characters were supposed to be. And then in Horizon Quest, I was trying to break a little bit from that and draw backgrounds more often. But of course, that led to some panels looking okay, and then other panels not really looking like they actually fit in the background that they were in. And I think Reaper is a really good improvement from that problem, honestly. Even, like, I didn't post that many panels, of course, but even, like, this panel is better than every single background panel in Horizon Quest. It's part of the reason why I like it so much. It's a simple one. I mean, he's just, like, sitting on a wall while, like, other villagers, or, sorry, townspeople. Oh, is it a town, a village, or a city? Anyway. Just sitting around, you know, just sharpening his blade while other people pass by. It feels like the town actually exists, and that he exists in the town, rather than just like drag and drop person onto a painting of a background that's like not well drawn, you know? And I didn't post too many Yeah. I don't think I posted any of the screenshots from him actually being... I mean, this looks better too. It's like an indoorsy shot. But there's also like shots of him looking over the castle and like jumping off the roof of the castle and stuff like that. And I think those were also like significantly much better than every single background art in Horizon Quest. And like even this, like it's a very simple background. There's not a lot, there's not a whole lot to look at here. But the stuff that you are looking at, it has shape. It feels like stuff kind of belongs in the scene and whatnot. And this is obviously just meant to be the cool shot. But yeah, it's a big improvement, and I can recognize the improvement. It took a lot of work to get to that point. And I'm hoping that as I go onward to doing more Reaper books, it only gets better and better as we continue. So, I'm happy. Yeah, no booba cover, come on. I'm sorry. Forgive me, senpai. It can be useful to try different styles to see what works for you as well as what doesn't. Yeah, I mean, like, I like multiple styles. It's like, when I read stuff, I like all kinds of different styles, and especially when I read something that's using a different style, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should try to incorporate that. Maybe I should try to draw in that style. And that's not a bad instinct, right? But I should try to actually, like, perfect my drawing skills before randomly learning a new style, you know what I mean? There's a time and place for boobs. Whoa, controversial statement there, Jen. Nah, I agree. Yeah, lack of big titty is why Indiegogo is hiding it. Yep. I swear my time for entering chat. You've got good timing. You've got the best timing. What, you don't want to hear about big titty waifus? What? Are you crazy? This is the best time to enter a live stream is when I start shouting about big titty waifus. It's what everybody wants to hear about. And the art style reminds me of the original one-shots from Manga Plus Creators app. It has the manga art style but doesn't quite get there. So like a westerny, that's what I would like describe it as, being like a westerny anime style. But I haven't... Hang on, I'll go back to the cover, right? To the cool shot. I haven't seen... when you say original one-shots, are you like referring to just the ones that people... just random people are uploading? There's a lot of those. Some of them look pretty good. Not all of them. Some of them are a little bit rough, but there are like some people who are like hiring actual really talented artists to post on Manga Plus Creators. And the story isn't good, but the art looks nice type thing. I struggle with proportions myself. I've been told that the limbs of my characters were a bit overly long, for example. Yeah, and that can be its own, like, stylistic thing, I'm sure, but yeah, proportions are a little bit tough. Like I said, I have a way of, like, simplifying, and that's kind of true with proportions also, where my main focus is, like, on the head, or on the, like, hips, or, you know, the main parts of the body that move, and that I like working on the most. But because of that, all the, like, the in-between stuff doesn't really look quite proportionate to the stuff that I'm actually enjoying drawing, because that's a secondary thought, you know? I hate drawing backgrounds. I'll do them, but still. Yeah. No, I gotcha. I'm happy that I started to enjoy drawing backgrounds a lot more while working on Reaper. And I think that was a part of getting better at doing them, was kind of teaching myself how to enjoy the process, you know? I've recently kept up with your live streams, and I really love hearing you talk art/storytelling in the background while drawing. Awesome. That's what I'm here for. It's funny, everybody tunes in for the Friday live streams. It's like the one sure thing I can always count on for this channel, is that I'll always get cool people in the Fridays with Dannphan. There are people who pop into these live streams who don't even watch, like, my main videos. They're just like, yeah, I just like hearing you talk. It's like, I mean, cool, I guess, you know? I'll take it. The algo finally showed me. What's a turnaround? Why did boobs become a theme for me today? In my opinion, I like horror more as a seasoning on other genres rather than a genre itself. I'm kind of the same way. Yeah. Like, I guess, you know, just a throwaway example, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 had some horror in there. But it wasn't, like, the main theme of the movie, right? It was for a very select scene that was meant to be introducing, like, the villain as being the villain. And it became so much more impactful because it was kind of horror-esque, over top what is a superhero movie, you know? What is about, like, hope and heroism, and then you get the little fucking horror scene in there. But goddamn, it's such a good scene when he's, like, you know, under, but the fucking, what are they called? The fucking mechanical arms are just, like, killing everybody. That's such a good scene. Good movie. Good movie. Anyway, I knew an artist who drew images using his own blood. That's some metal shit. Adam was saying something about, like, how it would be, like, super metal to sell a book that was written in blood, right? But require a lot of blood to sell a bunch of those. Having a distinct style is a gift. And also, kinda learned skill, in my opinion. If you're confident in how it looks, then go all in. Fair enough. Surprised there's no Ichabod body pillow yet. We're working on it. It's in the background. Man, that would be a really funny stretch goal. We'll get the Ichabod body pillows. Jeez. To be fair, if you can't sell them on the big boobs, gotta go for the next best thing, right? Hiya, what's up? You can always say you are using fashion drawing proportions. They love the long limbs. That's true. That is very true. Missed opportunity for a waifu cosplay stretch goal. Indiegogo would definitely push that. Well, there are eventually waifus in the story. It's not always a big sausage fest. There are eventually waifus. Just not a big pick of waifus in the first book. Not enough to make, like, a pinup, you know what I mean? And people love those fucking pinups, you know? Okay. Yeah. I noticed my drawings lack pizzazz, so I'm trying to learn perspective, and it's hell, let me tell you. Oh god, yeah. Perspective is always hell, because if you mess it up, then it just looks goofy as shit. I've been trying to more often use the Clip Studio. They have a 3D model that you can, like, pose to figure out how general, I mean, it's not 100%. It's kind of the equivalent of getting one of those wooden dolls and posing that. But it gives you a general idea of what a pose would look like. And I've been trying to use that for like perspective things. It hasn't been super successful, but I can feel like certain shots are a little bit better after using some sort of reference, as opposed to, of course, using no reference at all. But yeah. Don't be starting rumors about me, Joseph. Some people will take that shit seriously. Yeah, the Doc scene was obviously Sam Raimi's Evil Dead reference, including the random chainsaw trying to cut off the octo arms. I mean, that wasn't super random. It's like, if you are going to saw off something metal that's like attached to somebody, yeah, you use whatever equipment you can get. It wasn't, I don't think it was a chainsaw though. It was a power saw or something like that. It was like something special equipped. But no, that was a good scene. I like that scene. Blood stinks when there's a lot. And no one tells you, but blood stains rust. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. I like that little tidbit. I guess that makes sense, actually, now that I think about it. Sometimes I look at Justice League Unlimited and Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja backgrounds and be like, how to draw. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough, because, I mean, like, people out there, they want to brag about their art degrees or whatever, but art school, it doesn't really teach you what you need to know about art. They'll give you the assignments, they'll like vaguely go over, theory of how to draw something, and like the techniques and all that stuff. And then they'll tell you, okay, do it for this project, and then you move on to the next project, and then they're like, okay, do it for this, here's the new technique, do it for this project. And then you move on to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. But they're not really teaching you, they're teaching you the motions. They're not really teaching you how to be creative, or how to really love drawing. And it's just the matter of drawing a lot and applying new techniques, figuring out what techniques work best for you to draw something that looks good, creating your own style, as I was talking about before, which is a nightmare, but eventually people will latch on to something. And, there's a lot of people on social media, they don't do multiple styles in the same way that Chris would, but they specialize in one style, and then they become the best at doing that particular style. And then they become known for doing that particular style. And that kind of kickstarts their fame, because whenever somebody is looking for that particular style, that person's profile is going to be top of the list, because they are the person for that style, And that's kind of the charm of developing a style that you would be known for. But it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. Draw, draw, draw is the #1 rule to get good. Yes. You gotta draw, of course, obviously. And you also have to be learning while you draw. Like, if you're just drawing the same thing over and over again, but you're not actually, like, learning a way to make it better, then you're just running around in circles. But anyone can get good at drawing. You just gotta be disciplined at it. And have a lot of time on your hands. Because, dear God, it takes a lot of time. And a lot of me learning how to draw, I've been learning, rather than doing like multiple separate art pieces or separate illustrations, I've been learning through like doing comics. Which I guess, to some extent, it makes sense, because if you're going to be a comic artist, you're going to need to learn how to draw in comic fashion, you know, not just drawing a character in a cool, easy pose, but like drawing them in multiple poses and doing all kinds of crazy things and all these angles and with a background, you know? Those are more difficult than just drawing some nice illustration that looks about right. So a lot of me learning to draw and applying different techniques have been really just me working on a new comic. Hence, you know, Reaper Book 1. Like I said before, you see a lot of improvements in this comic from the last one, Horizon Quest. That's because now I'm applying all of these different techniques into the comic. I'm showing off what I have learned after doing Horizon Quest. And that's why it's always a bump up. It's never a bump down. If I ever come out with a new comic and the art is worse than the one before, just shoot me. Just obliterate my very existence. Please. Please do. Because that is not acceptable. If your professor likes you, you might get a job out of it. Oh yeah. Yeah, kiss up to the professors. That's the only way that you'll get a job going out. Art is too broad to be able to learn everything in one class. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in general, learning things in the classroom versus having somebody one-to-one teaching you, it's like night and day. What I would actually recommend for most artists out there is trying to find an artist who's willing to be your mentor and work with you one-on-one to actually teaching you how to do art. I think that is actually the best and fastest way to learn how to draw. Rather than, you know, getting these degrees or going to art school, you know. I mean, really, people who get into becoming assistants for manga, that's basically, you know, what is happening. They are getting like one-for-one training of how to draw the characters or how to draw the backgrounds or whatever specific job they have, how to ink, how to like go over the sketches that are already done by the mangaka, all of that stuff. Dannphan, have you seen the story of Berserk's creator? I think I at one point had a documentary on it in the background, but I don't remember, so probably not. Do you have any particular art style inspirations for your works? That's, you know, that's part of the thing, right? Is that I kind of dabble in a lot of different things. And maybe that's why the style is a little bit, what did I say to describe it before? Like Western anime, rather than, I'm not like directly copying any particular mangaka, you know? I see like certain techniques from here or there, but I'm not copy and pasting the art style. But like obviously this hatching technique that I'm like using, I'll find a better example of it somewhere. Maybe I don't have a good example of it posted here. But you see like how I'm like doing the shading by like just drawing out the basic shape and then doing lines through it to indicate the shading and the lighting and everything. So that's kind of a little bit new. I did something similar with Horizon Quest, but it wasn't quite as well done. And like, this is something that's more so done in a lot of manga. And it's something that I focused on a lot more perfecting in Reaper. And of course I'm using the screen tones now. I had tried using screen tones in other comics I've done, but not to any type of success, really. But I'm hoping that using the screen tones will make the shading come out much better for print. Because I was a little bit disappointed on how previous comics I've done where I've used like the pure grays, like that. I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't come out as dark as it should be. So there's that, you know, little things here and there. I mean, part of me felt, and I guess still kind of does, although there's no real reason to, part of me feels a little bit insecure about drawing in a purely anime style, or drawing in a style that seems like a copy-paste of a manga that I just like, you know? I'm not trying to bash anyone who does that, but I personally feel a little bit insecure about that because I feel like it makes me feel like a fraud, I suppose. It's like a more polite way of putting it. I feel like I have to have something different or unique about my style that sort of separates it from the basic bitch copycat, you know? Yeah, imposter syndrome. I guess that is what it's called. I get a little bit of that sometimes. But I guess maybe maybe some people will view like doing a more Western style manga-esque as being worse. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible to be inspired by Western things and anime things and then putting them together in one style. At least not on paper, I don't think that's terrible. I think a lot of people have done it wrong in the past, and maybe that's going to create some bias when people look at my stuff and they see that I'm trying to do like the same thing with combining Western art style and manga art style together. But I'm giving it a try anyway. Horizon Quest was kind of like the same thing, honestly. Horizon Quest was... yeah, well, hang on, let me full screen again. It's a little bit more Western-y. Like, I think that this art style looks like maybe kind of like Avatar-ish, but a little bit more anime. A little bit more of an anime Avatar. I'm wondering if there's some other example that I could use to compare it with this. But you know, it's a Western-y anime. It's not one-for-one anime. And I would actually argue that maybe Reaper's a little bit more anime-looking than Horizon Quest, but maybe that's just because Horizon Quest is more cartoony as well. Well, as Reaper, I was trying to make it more accurate in its proportions and other things. You're just growing as an artist. I'm in the same boat. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, of course. I am trying my best. I do hope that my art is not putting people off just because, like, I'm still learning. Because, I mean, you know, because a lot of you are subscribed on this channel, and a lot of you do actually watch my videos instead of just tuning in with the live streams. But I'm sure you know that I'm very harsh in a lot of my comic reviews, even some of my manga reviews. One manga review in particular. I tend to be more harsh when I'm reviewing things. And it's worth explaining because I think a lot of people are a little bit confused or upset when they see me being harsh towards a series and knowing that I also do my own comics, it's worth explaining that I am just as harsh to my own stuff as I am towards the things that I'm reading. I'm trying to hold everything to the same standard, and that can sometimes be a little bit unhealthy. I understand, to be holding like my comics to the same standard of someone who's like super famous, super successful mangaka, right? But the reason why I do this is because I want to eventually be at that level. And, you know, basically what I'm saying is I want to hold myself to a higher standard. And that is why I want other people to hold themselves at a higher standard. And it's just this cycle of I want us all to be better, and that is why I tend to be a little bit harsh in my reviews, because I guess part of it is projecting, but it is also genuine. It is genuine. If I don't like a book, I will genuinely say I don't like a book and do my best to explain why. But it's because I want everyone to be better. I want us all to rise up together and be the best comic creators that we can be. Oh man, Renee, you're just popping in at the end. Happy Dannphan Friday, everyone. What'd I miss? Well, I guess the whole thing. Because the hour's up. It's all... Actually, we went over. We went over 11 minutes. Alright, I'll take some ending questions, and then we'll end stream. More skits, damn it. Yeah. I guess I gotta work on my skits. I can make them shorts, but of course, you know, YouTube Shorts, like, kinda sucks. If we're being honest, TikTok also sucks. It's also bad. It's terrible for, like, any type of revenue or even selling things, really. It's not very good, but there's a reason why Vine ended, and there's a reason why TikTok will eventually end too. Anyway, let me go over some of these questions. How good does it feel to have several published books? Comics ain't easy to make. No, definitely not. As I was saying before, I hold myself to a very high standard. Every time I come out with a comic, I'm like proud of it, right? I'm like, oh my god, new comic. My art style is better than the last book. People can see that I'm improving. Ooh, so cool. And then, like, a year goes by. I open up the comic like, haha, I'm gonna reread my comic that I super loved while I was making it. And then I just start seeing all these mistakes. And I'm like, no. No. So, you know, there's that to consider. Like I said, every book, it's like I'm getting better than the last book, which is a good thing. But it also makes me cringe at my older books. So that's an unfortunate thing. You want I Am Starfire to rise up. I want people to hold themselves to a higher standard and be better. If the person who wrote Mariko Tamaki, I believe that was her name, right? If she wrote a better book the next day, if she like wrote a fucking masterpiece when I woke up tomorrow, I would praise her for it, because it's worth patting someone on the back when they do a good job and then smacking their wrist when they do a bad job. That's all I'm saying. Review the Ripperverse books. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a thing that I could do. I don't feel like I would find them nearly as interesting as other people might find them, though. Will you be covering any CG books in the future? Maybe? Maybe. I don't know. I've certainly bought a couple of them. I've bought indie comics in general that I just find campaigning every now and then. And some of them I get really disappointed by. I'm sure you remember, some of you anyway, I'm sure some of you remember that one video where I just said I'm so sick of this because I had just got done reading one, and it was just, the art was good, right? But the story was just below mediocre. It was almost incomprehensible. It was so terrible. And I was so upset. Just, it's like when I read Arc Athena, for example, I can tell that someone has a story in mind that they're trying to put together, and also the art is good, and that's like a plus. But like sometimes, you know, I read something and it's like, this motherfucker submitted his first draft, like not even trying. My goodness. If only Eric would listen to you, then the Rippaverse would be amazing. I don't know. I've only ever heard other people review the Rippaverse. I've never read the comics. I've only heard other people review it and had them say that it was mediocre and that it's not as good as they were promised. But it's still successful. Like, he still has a ton of backers, even though his videos, like, in the grand scheme of things, 500k subs, it's a lot of subs, but his videos, you know, are actually pretty modest in terms of view count. But even despite that, he gets genuinely a good bit of backers, and he's able to be successful from that. And I guess he's spoken about, you know, the 1,000 true fans theory. But, like, that's nice, you know? I mean, love or hate his books, it's nice that he found some method to be successful. I need to find a method so that I can tell you my method. Because right now I don't really have much of a method. I'm very random as far as figuring out what works for me and what doesn't. I found out a lot of things that don't work. Yeah, the mistakes are all I can see when I look at my books. It's mortifying. I know. It's terrible. But at least there is improvement. That is the silver lining there, that at least there is improvement. Oh, do you plan on reviewing Common America? That's a good question, actually. I have the first issue, and it was good. I mostly enjoyed the first issue. I was thinking maybe instead I should like buy the like omnibuses, the big thick collections of everything. So I was thinking of doing that, but I don't think I have yet. So gotta go on their website for that, of course. But maybe in the future, maybe I'll give that review. Have you drawn fight scenes for Reaper? I've drawn a few fight scenes for Reaper. I've been doing all the pages in order, which might not... I don't know if anyone else draws comics that way. Some people like to... I've heard of a method, right? Where instead, you start by drawing the middle of the comic, then you draw the beginning of the comic, then you draw the end of the comic, because you're improving as you go. So you want the middle section to not be as... Well, you want the beginning and the end to be really good looking art, really crisp looking, because that's your hook for people getting into the series, and then when they leave the series, you want to end on a good note. So that's some people's method, but I draw everything in order from like page 1, page 2, page 3, etc., down to the last page. Might not be the best method. And then I just go back and then try to edit some of the pages where I messed up. So, you know. Somebody probably already mentioned this, but EVS gave you a shout out on Trashcast. Really? Like recently or a while ago? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know. I remember a really long time ago back when I used to tune in to his streams, I guess, you know, more during prime time Comicsgate was breaking out and everything, I would tune into his streams to listen. And I remember him once, like, just mentioning offhand, oh man, maybe we should get, like, Dannphan in here eventually. I was like, oh, that's nice. I like being considered for things. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, eventually somebody wanted me to go on there, but I like being thought of, as I said before, yeah. Time for you to review the Rippaverse. Once you read it, it will open your eyes to becoming a better writer. Also, drink that wolf milk. With that, you can see sight beyond sight. Cool. Okay. I assume this is referencing things that I just don't understand because I haven't read the comics. But, now we're 20 minutes past the hour. So I think it's safe to say, that we should wrap this up. Let's wrap up the Friday with Dannphan stream. Thank you guys for tuning in and talking with me. I had a pretty fun time talking about art and stuff and improving and all this good stuff. I know I still have a ways to go, but I do appreciate the people who are giving this series a shot because I really want this to be good. And I'm willing to keep on working on it and keep on editing it until it is at least passable in your eyes. And yeah, so far I've gotten pretty good feedback on the pages that are done and the story overall. Obviously, I will have beta readers reading the final draft when that's all cooked up. There's a lot of art fixes I'll probably be doing. More than drawing the second book, I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time just going back and tweaking things in the first half of the comic. But yes, feeling really good as I'm getting closer and closer to being done this first book. I think, of course, my opinion is a little bit biased, but I think it is a great introduction into the series. And I just can't wait to do a fantasy series. It's like everybody's dream, it seems like. Everybody who wants to be a writer, they always have this grander idea of this fantasy series or their own like world that they have. So it's gonna be a compilation of fixes would be a fun video. Would it be? I mean, I could do a stream, just compilation of fixes. Just me going from page to page and being like, okay, fix this mouth, fix this fucked up head. My god, Sidharth's helmet. That motherfucker's helmet. I keep on drawing it that it is all fucked up. Anyway. Can't talk about it right now. You just buy the book or consider buying it. Consider backing the campaign if you haven't already. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the next stream. I'll see you probably in the comments section of the next video, which will be coming out next week. So, thank you everyone, and good night. Maybe see you on the Dannphan stream, who knows.